Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to be with you here today on Finance, Trade, Gender Equality and Accountability Day at COP28. My name is Shona McGeekin and I will be your moderator today. We're here today to discuss how COP28 is making climate finance available, accessible and affordable so that we can bridge the gaps identified in the global stocktake to meet our goals by 2030. I'm joined by COP28 President Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber and Chair of the IPCC, Jim Ski. Dr. Sultan, can I invite you to take the floor?
Thank you very much, Shona, and thank you all for being here and being physically present. I thank those also who are joining us online. I hope that all of you who are here in person have enjoyed and continue to enjoy their engagements and their stay in the United Arab Emirates. And I hope that my team have been engaging and have been supporting you by providing you with all the necessary information or documents and whenever you asked. And I hope that my team is also keeping you updated in a timely fashion with the progress that is being made on the ground. Allow me to use this opportunity to bring everyone up to speed on what has been achieved thus far, and in particular in the past 3.5 days of COP28. And before I begin, let's remember why we're all here. We're all here because we made a very clear call to action. And we've been very upfront about it. And we said clearly and repeatedly that the UAE takes this task with humility, responsibility, and we fully understand the urgency behind this matter. And we're here because we very much believe and respect the science. 43% of global emissions must be reduced by 2030. That is 22 gigatons. We need to reduce global emissions 43%. That is 22 gigatons by 2030. And we need to make that happen to keep 1.5 within reach. And I have been crystal clear on the fact that that is a critical success factor if we want to keep 1.5 within reach. Let me say from the outset that everything this presidency has been working on, continues to work on, is focused on and centered around the science. And I have been crystal clear on that point. And every opportunity I had with many around the world and all of my public engagements, I have always been very clear on the fact that we are making sure that everything we do is centered around the science. I am approaching this task, as I said, myself and my team at the COP28 presidency, with full understanding of what is at stake. We did not in any way underestimate or undermine the task at hand. We understand fully the urgency and we understand the responsibility that we have taken on board. In the first 4 days, I believe we have already set a high bar for delivery. And there is a real sense of momentum, traction, positivity, and excitement. I also can tell you that there is real hope out there across the site and across everyone I came across. There is real hope and optimism that this is a major inflection point and we cannot miss the opportunity. This is our opportunity to deliver real, tangible paradigm shift that will course correct and put us on the right track of keeping 1.5 within reach. In fact, I must say, a special thing is happening here at COP28. A special thing is actually happening here in Dubai. We voted on and supported and adopted the agenda in the first hour of the first day of COP. In the 12 COPs I have personally participated in, and I'm sure in this room there are people that have participated in many more than only 12 COPs. Never ever did we see the agenda get adopted on day one, let alone first hour. Parties then came together on the first day to make a historic decision. That's history. In fact, it's a breakthrough agreement on loss and damage. And we didn't only operationalize it, but we began filling it. And that's what I have been repeatedly saying. Our task is not only to operationalize it and establish or create an empty bank account. No, we made a promise. We want to operationalize it, and we want to agree the funding arrangements and start filling it. And that's exactly what happened. And again, that's the first time in any COP, on day one, such a decision gets adopted. This is historic. These are success stories. No one can deny those. It is also worth reminding everyone that the loss and damage was in real danger of not happening at all until we made a bold call and we requested to convene a special session in Abu Dhabi to get it over the line. And this happened right after the pre-COP in the beginning of November. TC5 was never part of the agenda or part of the plan. But we took that bold decision to ensure that we give it our best shot and we utilize and capitalize on our abilities, expertise, network, partners, relationships to get it over the line. And yes, we got it over the line with the help and support of all parties. We also brought together the US and China in an unprecedented commitment to an economy-wide reduction of methane and other non-CO2 gases. These gases are over 80 times more damaging than CO2. Tackling methane will have massive near-term impact on keeping 1.5 within reach. And that's why I am putting it at the top of my agenda. In fact, it has been one of my top priorities as the COP presidency. And we made it be very high and a top priority for everyone. And that's why we're able to make progress. I am pleased to say that we have also mobilized over $57 billion in new pledges and commitments only in the first 4 days. 30 billion in a new custom-tailored UAE catalytic fund that is 100% focused on solutions and bridging gaps to climate change. 725 million for loss and damage. $9 billion annually announced by the World Bank. Over $3 billion for the Green Climate Fund. 2.7 billion for health. 2.6 billion for nature. 1.2 billion for relief, recovery, and peace, and 2.5 billion for renewable energy, and 1.2 billion for methane reduction. On top of that, parties have rallied around a number of pledges and declarations that get the world moving in the right direction. That's the course correction we're talking about. That is us nurturing a new culture and a new DNA that is centered around making things happen. It's the action agenda that we have adopted since day one. It's the delivery, it's the implementation, it's the fact that we have been recognizing the efforts and the progress made over the years and our intent, genuine and sincere intent, to take that responsibility and attempt to translate all this great progress into real actions. And that is what we're trying to bring to the table. 8 new declarations have been announced, and these declarations are designed to help transform every major sector of the global economy. The Global Decarbonization Alliance, bringing together more countries and more companies around net zero than ever before. Again, that has never, ever happened before. This is all aimed at decarbonizing the supply and the demand. And that's, again, a unique approach. That's a very unique model, the integration between supply and demand of the energy system at the same time. 50 oil companies, oil and gas companies, aiming for zero methane emissions by 2030 and net zero by 2050. First time ever. Plus, a global pledge to triple renewable energy and double energy efficiency. And I am especially proud that we have delivered first ever declarations on health and food systems. These have been 2 massive priorities for our COP presidency agenda. 3 additional declarations will be announced in the next few days, in the coming days, on hydrogen, cooling, and gender. The number of countries supporting these declarations and pledges is in fact growing. I am receiving a lot of great, in fact, overwhelming response, positive response from many around the world that are interested and keen to join hands. And of course, if anything, this simply demonstrates how we are delivering against one of our main pillars, and that is doing everything with full inclusivity. We are not leaving anyone behind, nor are we leaving anyone on the sidelines. We're engaging and we're bringing everyone on board. And I'll be happy to tell you about all the countries that have signed up to our declarations if you're interested, or I can have my team share with you all the details. I really think something special is really happening here. The positivity, the optimism, the hope, the momentum, the determination is just growing. And I will stay focused, laser focused, on delivery and maintaining this momentum until we land the most ambitious response to the global stocktake. It is time for us to seriously cooperate, collaborate, unite. It is solidarity that is needed at this point in time if we're serious about addressing this. It is time that we deliver the highest ambition response to the global stocktake and keep 1.5 within reach. And of course, I am excited. I am more determined than ever before, and I do look forward to rubbing shoulders against everyone, working with everyone, rolling up my sleeves, and working very closely with the negotiators to get this job done. And before I hand over to my colleague Shauna, allow me to say how grateful I am and appreciative for the relationship we have been able to establish with the IPCC and with my very dear colleague Jim, who has been very instrumental in helping us develop and shape our vision and our agenda and our strategic imperatives, as well as our detailed strategy and objectives, and the fact that we have always built everything, every step of the way, on the science, on the facts, and on the figures. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sultan. If I can open the floor now to questions. Do we have some microphones that we could... Lady here in the third row back, right in front of me. And if I could ask each person, please, to identify themselves, their outlet, and please limit it to one short question in the interests of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Lucy Cormack from the Sydney Morning Herald in Australia. Dr. Sultan, if I may, reports in The Guardian of your comments that there is no science behind calls to cut fossil fuels. Do you maintain this, and do you accept that language like this and talk of people living in caves could contribute to a loss of public confidence in this COP outside of the negotiating bubble here on site?
Let's talk delivery. Let's talk progress. Let's talk momentum and traction. Let's talk about facts on the ground. Let me just say this about the media reports, without naming anybody. The media reports on a conversation I had with a person I have a great deal of respect for, and that is Mary Robinson. I have incredible respect for Mary Robinson, and I have a great deal of respect for everything she has been able to accomplish and achieve over the years. And when I received, in fact, I was very honored to receive her invitation to participate and speak in a discussion around climate and gender. Climate and gender. That was the topic that I was invited for, and I very much appreciated and respected the invitation, and that's why I did not even blink. I accepted it right away. And let me just clarify where I stand on the science. I hope this time it gets picked up, because what I'm saying today, you have access to all of my public engagements. It's there. I'm not going to say anything new. I honestly think that there is some confusion out there, and misrepresentation and misinterpretation. And to address this question right, let me first introduce myself to you. I'm an engineer by background. It's the science and my respect to the science and my passion about the science, and it's about my conviction to the science that have enabled me to progress in my career. I'm an economist by background, and by combining my passion for science and my engineering background and supplementing that with business and economics skills, I was able to progress in my career. So science has been central to my own career progress. And yes, I respect the science in everything I do. And I respect and trust numbers and figures. Science has guided my life. This is a fact. And I have repeatedly said in many occasions and in many different platforms that it is the science that have guided the principles of our strategy as COP28 presidency. And I've been very crystal clear about that. And I hope that this time I am clearer in getting this message across. The science says that we must get to net zero emissions by 2050, and we must reduce emissions by 43% by 2030, and that is to reduce 22 gigatons, the one I just referred to, in order for us to be able to keep 1.5 within reach. And I have been very clear that my job and this mission is to ensure that my North Star continues to be, and that we stay laser focused on our North Star, and that is keeping 1.5 within reach. And that will not change. That will not change. In fact, if anything, you will only see my North Star more shining, because that's how much I care about keeping focus on my North Star. I have said over and over that the phase down and the phase out of fossil fuel is inevitable. In fact, it is essential. And this transition is, in fact, essential. And it needs to be orderly, fair, just, and responsible. And it needs to be well managed. So, allow me to say that I am quite surprised at the constant attempt to undermine this message. I can't not be clear about it. I am quite surprised with the constant and repeated attempts to undermine the work of the COP28 presidency and the attempts to undermine the message that we keep repeating when it comes to how much we respect the science and how we ensured that the science is what dictates our strategy for our strategic imperatives and the objectives we want to deliver at COP28. Let me just add this. I know that there are strong views among some parties about the phase down or phase out of fossil fuels. And allow me to say this again. This is the first presidency ever to actively call on parties to come forward with language on all fossil fuels for the negotiated text. This is the first ever presidency that does that. How come this doesn't get picked up or mentioned? This is a reality. It's a fact. I have said this repeatedly in my public engagements. At the pre-COP, I said very clearly that we, as the COP28 presidency, are extending an open invitation to all parties to come forward with common grounds and consensus when it comes to this language. And yes, I am engaging with all parties. And yes, I am encouraging them to do so. And I said the same many times. And I said it even again in my opening remarks at COP28. But guess what? It was barely picked up. Barely. But one statement taken out of context with misrepresentation and misinterpretation, it gets maximum coverage. Again, I respect facts, I respect numbers, and these are the facts on the ground. Unfortunately. I have called on parties many times to find common ground, build consensus, and come to me with language that will work with all parties. This presidency is committed to delivering the highest ambition GST possible. If anything, I need your help. Please help me get this message across. I am committed and determined to deliver the most ambitious response to the global stocktake. Please, let's give the process the space it needs. And if anything, judge us on what we will deliver at the end of this COP. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sultan. As the science was being called into question, though, could I invite the chair of the IPCC, Jim Ski, to come in here?
I think it's working. It's working.
It's working. Okay, sorry. I'm used to having to press buttons. So just to say, I'm here representing the IPCC, which does have a mandate which is quite distinct from the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. And just to say, we are concerned with the facts and the figures. We don't carry out our own research. We assess the work that is carried in the scientific community. And when we produce our reports, every line, every word is approved in collaboration with governments and has been endorsed by them. And just a couple of words about what IPCC actually said about fossil fuels, and I will say it very precisely. So, looking at scenarios in which global warming is limited to 1.5 degrees with no or little overshoot, by 2050, fossil fuel use is greatly reduced and unabated coal use is completely phased out. These are the words that we used. I can give you some extra numbers as well for oil, for example. Oil use by 2050 is reduced by 60%, and natural gas use is reduced by 45%. I might say that I have had a small number of one-to-one conversations with Dr. Sultan, and the topic has exclusively been on the science. And I can say that, that Dr. Sultan has been attentive to the science as we have discussed it, and I think has fully understood it. So I don't want to go beyond that and do interpretation. I think we should have the facts out there, and if people want to see the detail from the IPCC reports, we would happily provide them to journalists.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen here in the front row, if we have the microphone.
Seth Borenstein, the Associated Press. Dr. Sultan, just to drill a little deeper into your comments, can you go through and define for us time periods you are talking about with phase down and or phase out, the difference to you between the two, and how, and with the Secretary General has said just here a few days ago, don't even talk abated, just, so are you willing to throw away language on the desire to stick in the unabated? Can you delve into what it means to you and what are your red lines here as the COP president?
As a COP president, I have no red lines. It's the parties that will decide. And it's the parties that I have repeatedly and openly invited and encouraged and motivated to come to me with language. I have done that, and I continue to do that, and I will continue doing that. Now, in regards to the timeline, again, I respect the science. I respect the science, and I respect the IPCC reporting and reports, facts and figures. And you mentioned the SGA, and I'm glad you mentioned what he said. He is right. He is right. But guess what? I said it a day before he did, wasn't picked up. Was not picked up, not even mentioned. When I confronted the oil and gas industry, was not picked up, was not even mentioned. When I said that while I am grateful and appreciative for the oil and gas and all heavy emitting industries to take such a bold and a giant step to come around the table and to sign up to these commitments with facts and figures, yet I did say that. I knew and I know that the oil and gas industry and heavy emitting industries can do much more. So are they doing enough? Even though they have responded after tough and hard discussions, they have responded and they've stepped up. Is this enough? The answer is no. So if someone else says it, it gets picked up and it gets maximum coverage. When I am saying it, when I'm confronting and I'm driving, it doesn't even get barely any. Let me just be simple. I said the same thing. Same thing. I was identical. Same thing. No pickup whatsoever. The SG gets maximum coverage, and then it gets twisted as if there is any kind of conflicting messages. I'm telling you, we are not. Why? Because it's the science that is driving the principles of this COP. I made it very clear in my speech that the COP28's presidency's energy package is only the beginning. I did say it's a giant step. I did say it's a big step in the right direction, but I did mention it and I repeatedly said it, it is not enough. And I did encourage everyone to work with us and to help us identify more and new solutions and to help make this energy package better and help us unlock its potential. Because I do believe in inclusivity. And I do believe that if we were to bring everyone on board, we will be able to address this challenge head on by capitalizing on the science and by capitalizing on their capabilities, engineering capability, their science capability, their access, their technology, their financial capability, their reach, their ability to manage complex projects. I believe that they can help fast track this transition. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid we're going to have to draw it to a close with 4 key themes in today. We have a very busy schedule. We will be back tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. in this room, and we look forward to seeing you then. We hope you enjoy the rest of the day today. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.